The Sith Emperor, once previously known as Lord Vate, was the Dark Lord of the Sith who reconstituted the Sith Empire after its destruction of the Great Hyperspace War and went on to rule it for over 13 centuries. Yeah, he achieved immortality by basically transferring his conscience into various bodies over time throughout the Star Wars universe during this period of time, and he destroyed his former identity as Lord Vite. Like I said, I can't pronounce it right. The self-proclaimed Sith Emperor led the scattered survivors of the Empire on a 20-year odyssey into the unknown regions where he established the Empire on the lost colony world of Dromund Kaas. He delved deep into the mysteries of the dark side of the Force, or as I like to call it, the negative side, as its people built a new civilization and expanded the Empire's domain over the next 1,000 years. His life prolonged through the power of the ritual. The Emperor sought a way to repeat the same feat of Sith magic on a galactic scale. However, doing so required a war that would destroy civilizations and fuel his power so that he could consume everything in the galaxy and basically become God. To that end, the Emperor arranged for a Mandalorian warrior culture to attack the Republic, and he turned the powerful Jedi Knights Revan and Malak, to the negative side of the Force and set them upon the Republic after the Mandalorians were defeated. So basically, this guy was pretty much responsible for the Mandalorian Wars, the Jedi Civil War, the fall of Revan and Malak, and later would be the reason why the Exile gets killed in the Revan book. Well, he wouldn't technically be the one that kills her. Lord Scourge would, but he had a hand in it nonetheless. Like, this man lived for over 13 centuries. That is freaking impressive. This man managed to achieve something that many Sith dream of, which is gain immortality. And he originally was a Sith species, but eventually he gave up that power, and then he became a Dark Lord by Marka Ragnos 3 years later in the year 5000 something. I can't recall. But the Emperor had killed his own father at the age of 10 and was granted Lord Vete, and nothing really much was known about that. Like I said, I don't think I could pronounce the name right. But leading this 20-year odyssey and able to keep his power for as long as he did is certainly impressive. And he eventually would eventually die. Like, I don't know when he died. It's not been explored yet in the Old Republic MMO, but it's bound to happen eventually. But to, this immortality, he would eventually still be remembered a millennia later. Like, all these other Sith would thrive to want to know, how did he do that? Like, we need to know what he did. And Lord Plagueis, Darth Plagueis the Wise, pretty much was obsessed with this, trying to figure out how to get immortal, and he knew, well, there's a guy that was previously immortal, maybe I can learn something from him. But he never really did, honestly, and here's the thing, during the whole before the Hyperspace War, when Marka Ragnos died, when the Sith were fighting amongst themselves to wonder who's the successor, he chose not to get involved. Like he might have thought and let Naga Sadao eventually take over, when he could have obviously fought for it and possibly win, since he's lived 113 years already. Why stop there? So why not continue on? But he would eventually die, but it's currently unknown when. But there's also the fact that he didn't really directly speak to his fellow subjects. He had something called the Emperor's Voice, where someone would speak for him or speak through him. I never really explored that, but that's the notion I did get. And there would also be the Emperor's Wrath, where someone would be granted immortality through exhilarating pain until eventually it was numbness. The Lord Scourge earned that. But not much is really known about any more Emperor stuff. He didn't participate in the Hyperspace War for a while, and later would get involved in building up the Sith Empire, starting the Mandalorian Wars by manipulating Mandalore the Ultimate, then controlling Revan and Malak to start the Jedi Civil War, then returns 300 years later and start the Great Galactic War and the Cold War. So this Sith knew what to do. He knew what he was doing when he got into this. Like, he had everything planned out, and this is pretty much the second most successful Sith Emperor. The reason why I say second is because he couldn't defeat the Jedi and the Republic. Palpatine would be the one that does it, which is why he's at the top there. But yeah, but Palpatine wasn't this Sith Emperor who managed to achieve immortality and managed to transfer his conscience. Palpatine waited most of his early lifetime, but when compared to the Sith Emperor, he waited 13 centuries to do this plan. That is freaking impressive. Well, everyone, this was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for more.